Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the PAUK radio network. I'm your host Paul Rook, and as always we are joined in the studio by the stupendous Kerry Greenway and Richard Clements. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm all right.
Excellent. Is there any reason, Kerry, that you're still in the studio with your hand in the air?
I have no idea. I'm clicking around like a mad woman. Right?
Desperately trying to.
I've got it, everybody.
Got it off, have you?
Oh, my tech. I tell you, sometimes.
That's it. Put your hand down. You don't have to.
What were we going to do with it?
You don't have to stand on ceremony.
Retrograde. All I'm saying, folks.
Yeah.
Blame it on Mercury
I am. I'm going to blame that wholly on Mercury retrograde. Not that I'm a ditzy cow and haven't got a clue what I'm doing, really.
Yeah.
Oh,
you don't have to stand on ceremony here. If you've got something to say, you don't have to put your hand up. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't normally wait for an invite. I normally just say it, guys. Come on, don't be better than that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, how have you been anyway?
Totally ditzy. I'm not present at the moment. My brain is like gone into total meltdown. I'm fine.
All over
fine.
the place.
I am. I'm all over the place at the moment. But I'm sure it's just the Mercury retrograde. And
I'm sure it is. You keep telling yourself that.
That's all I can do, baby boy.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. So, how are you, Richard?
Yes, I'm okay. Just plodding along. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm taking Miss Greenaway out for the day.
We've got a road trip planned.
Oh, where are you planning on going?
We're going to Hever Castle.
We're going to her favourite place.
Oh, isn't that something that's something to do with Anne Boleyn, wasn't it?
That's right. It's Anne Boleyn's childhood home.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and it's not that far, and I've never been, so Kerry can show me around and all the bits and pieces. And it's Jubilee weekend, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's it. Have you ordered your Jubilee T-shirts yet?
No, but I've been down to town today, and everyone's got the bunting up ready. So
excellent. I've actually ordered 2 T-shirts for the Jubilee. So I've got a nice. It's a big lion on the front of the T-shirt in red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a little crown for the Queen, and then the Jubilee bit at the bottom.
Cool.
Proper English T-shirt.
Yeah.
No, me and Richard are going to go incognito and pretend that it's not happening, really. But you can get a photograph with the Queen, so I'm sure we'll do that, won't we, Richard?
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
If the queues aren't too long, that is. And no, it'd just be nice to have a day out. We haven't done a day out for a while, and the weather's getting better, so it's time to get out and about, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just don't forget your suntan lotion.
Yeah, for the top of my head, yeah.
Because I'll make you wear a floppy hat.
On last Sunday, I went to a Comic-Con. It was a Marvel and DC Comic-Con, and it was outside, and it was very hot, and I got sunburnt on my arm.
Well, knowing me and Richard, we'll do a day trip, and it'll probably be chucking it down with rain, so it'll probably be good.
Yeah.
We'll still go whatever happens.
Oh yeah, rain or shine.
We don't care, Rich.
No, we don't care at all.
We don't care. We're going to do a road trip.
Hardcore. I want to see lots of lives then.
Yes, we will.
Well, let's see what we can do.
There is a ghost of Anne Boleyn allegedly seen in the grounds on the Anne Boleyn walk.
Okay.
So, like, there's a path that she used to walk quite a lot, and apparently the ghost of Anne Boleyn walks that still. So I'm sure at some point we will. And I've always said that Hever Castle is my ancestral home, as you do.
Okay.
Because I love it so much. But
I actually know one of the descendants of Anne Boleyn.
So do I, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you, Rich.
Do I?
You do.
Oh, in that case, I know 2 of them then.
Who's a descendant of Anne Boleyn then?
Helena King.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Did you not know that, Paul?
I didn't know. No, I didn't know that. But now I know 2 people that's a descendant of Anne Boleyn.
Yeah, Boleyn Paranormal. That's why they called it Boleyn Paranormal.
Ah,
yeah.
okay. I get that now. Well, awesome. I'll have to
All
speak to her about
everything
that.
all comes into
Yeah,
focus.
we're planning on doing a show on the Tudors.
We do.
I'm sure she'll feature at some point through that.
No, she was supposed to be a witch.
Ah.
And she had a sixth finger on one of her hands.
Yes, allegedly.
Which is why she wore long cowled, like the drop sleeve.
Yeah.
It was so it hit her hand.
Ooh, cool. I'm just watching the Tudors on the telly for the first time ever. I've never seen it before.
Oh, it's a brilliant series.
And she is quite scheming with her dad. So I can understand that.
I think the whole Billion family was a little scheming, to be fair, when you look at her dad and her brothers and stuff. It was one of those power struggles we've talked about before with kings and gaining, position. And
gaining favour,
And they used to throw their daughters at kings to gain favour, basically. And he did
Well,
that.
of course
Both
they did,
of his daughters, Mary and Anne.
Yeah.
Because Mary was his side chick.
Yeah, and Anne was a bit before he was sort of having a bit of a fling with Anne, wasn't he?
Mary was, Mary
yeah.
was before Anne, but Anne went for the big guns of marriage. So, she wasn't ambitious in her own right. But we'll talk about that on that show.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to go with a bit of Star Trek vibe on this show, aren't we?
What?
What's Star Trek got to do with
it? It's Mirror Universe.
Oh, dear.
We're talking about mirrors, aren't we?
Yes, we are talking about mirrors tonight.
That threw you, didn't it? You really need to catch up. You really need to catch up with Star Trek and all the symbology to go with it, because we talk about it a lot.
Well, you talk about it.
You talk about it a lot.
Me and Richard. Libby's
we just sit there thinking, what?
Yeah, see, Star Trek covered it well before we did.
Okay, not quite the direction I took with this, but talking of which, I was talking to somebody during the week, and they were saying, "Oh, what you're going to do the show on this week?" And I said, "Oh, we're talking about mirrors and stuff like that." It's a listener to the show, and they were like, "Oh, have you heard of the Three Kings experiment?"
Okay, no, I haven't. I've not heard of that.
So I was like, "No." I said, is it like one of the variations of like the Bloody Mary kind of scenario that you do, where you're supposed to stand in front of a mirror with a candle and say Bloody Mary 3 times, and then she's supposed to appear to you?
Yeah.
And he went, well, what it is you put like a mirror to the front of you and a mirror to the back of you.
Yeah.
Right. And you stand or sit in between the two with candles, 2 candles either side of you. And you call on the 3 kings. Right. So I was like, right. Okay, thinking this sounds like ritual work. And he says, then it's how they appear to you. And if you see like a jester or you see a queen or you see something other than the 3 kings, it's the symbology of that. So it brings into mind the tarot a little bit.
Oh, right. So it's not the 3 kings of biblical fame then?
No. And I was like, I've heard of the experiment before in the paranormal field where you sit between 2 mirrors, and we've seen Jay Lynch do it, who's been on the show before, in that respect. So I kind of have heard of that concept before of creating basically they say it's like creates an infinity portal because you're reflecting back all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the kind of theory of that. But I'd not heard it called the 3 Kings before now. So it's interesting, right?
Yeah. I haven't heard it.
But I said it just sounds like a variation of the Bloody Mary kind of scenario to me. But you've done scrying in front of a mirror before, Richard, at the...
Oh, yes. I done it at...
the Rotherham Poltergeist House.
Yeah, the Poltergeist House, yes. I found it very difficult to get the light right. I was sort of trying to get it as dark as possible in there, but I couldn't make out anything in the mirror. But it is sort of I am a proponent of scrying. I mean, I do like it. I've got your little scrying mirror you got me, Kerry, and I use that occasionally. So
that's not Obsidian. Do you actually use it?
Yeah. I've been practicing on it, you know, sort of like the trick is not to stare directly into it, it's to sort of stare across it.
That's right. You
Yeah.
have to have it at a slight angle, so you're not looking at your reflection in it. You haven't got a reflection in it,
Yeah.
but you can see the reflective surface
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
it. So everyone's sorry about the hellhound. He's a bit lively tonight. So that's what you kind of do. So you're not actually focusing on yourself. You're focusing on the surface of it. So that's the theory of scrying. Now this comes from originally. I mean, we use black obsidian, which is like, you know, the black mirror thing. That's sort of where it's evolved to. But this kind of started when far back in time, they would use water.
Yeah.
So the sages of old would use a bowl of water, a dark bowl of water, like a rock, a hollowed rock or a pot or something. So it'd be dark. They'd put water in it, and then they would generally swirl the water and then scry in that. And that's another experiment you can use in the paranormal field as well, which we've seen done recently.
Nostradamus used water, didn't he?
I don't know, did he?
Yeah, he
I
used a
think
bowl
he
of
did,
water.
yeah, because he was a Greek. That's how the Greeks used to do the scrying. They used to use water as opposed to mirrors and stuff like that. So it's basically the first mentions ever of scrying.
Yeah, is in pools of water. Now,
Yeah.
the black obsidian side of things actually goes back. They've actually found some in Turkey that were about 6,000 years old. That's a lot.
Okay.
That's going back. Now, black obsidian comes from volcanic activity, where the impurities have created this black mass of glass, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what black obsidian is. So if you're out there buying black obsidian, be very aware that you might just be buying black glass, because, you know, it's very hard to tell the difference between the two. So use a reputable seller such as Spirit and Soul Island Crystals for any black obsidian items you may require. Now, the Egyptians, they used copper to produce that reflective surface and mirrors. And when they wanted to light inside, like when they was working inside tombs and stuff like that, they would actually, you've seen this in the film, actually, The Mummy, where they would bounce the light off to reflect the light into wherever they needed to be, rather than using just like lit candles, you know, oil candles. So they used it as well. And the Mesopotamians as well, going back to that era, they actually produced metal mirrors from stone as well. So it's all over.
Yeah.
I mean, China used mirrors that were more of a metallic alloy, such as tin and copper and stuff like that. So they'd highly polish that to get the reflective surface. And there was even some made out of bronze.
Yeah.
But these are for wealthy people, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you own something like that, yeah, because it would have been a lot of work gone into polishing these sort of stones, glass, and various metals.
But the invention of the glass blowing metallic back kind of mirror that we know now kind of happened really in the 14th century.
Yeah.
And that increased its popularity for mirrors. Now, obviously, the main part of a mirror is glass. The front part of it is actually just glass. But it's a poor reflector, so it has to be coated with something. So that's where you ended up with the gold, silver, or chrome kind of backing to make it the reflective surface that we know and love.
Yeah.
Now, in the Renaissance period in Europe, mirrors were actually made from coating the glass with tin or mercury.
Yep.
Yeah. And a factory called Saint Gobain was established in France. Now, these are still very, very expensive items back in this time.
Yeah.
Incredibly expensive items. So this is like really for the rich at this time. Now, in 1835, a German chemist called Justus von Liebig developed the silver-backed glass mirror. Now that's got a thin layer of metallic silver and then obviously onto the glass, and used a chemical reduction of silver nitrate. Now, this particular invention, this process invention on manufacturing actually was able to increase the manufacture of it. I've got that all grammatically incorrect of how I said that. I've got my words a bit twisted around there. But then it became a much bigger thing and more affordable. So normal people, ordinary people could start affording to buy a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of bringing mirrors more affordable, as you say, more mass produced.
Exactly. Nowadays, it's aluminium that's vacuumed directly onto the glass to create that.
Oh, right.
A lot safer, I feel.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
using mercury and stuff like that, yeah.
But let's talk about the earliest reflective surface, which obviously was water. There's a really, really famous story of Narcissus.
Okay.
It's a Greek mythological kind of story. There are versions of this particular story, which, depending on where you go, you get the version. So I've gone for one particular version. Now, Narcissus was the son of the river god Cephissus and the nymph Liriop.
Yeah, let's go with Liriop.
We'll go with Liriop. Now, he was incredibly beautiful. Yeah, he was like a Fitty McVitty, shall we say?
Oh, right.
One of them.
He had a very beautiful face, and Narcissus's mother was told by the seer Tiresias that he would have a long life, provided he never recognized himself. However, his rejection of the nymph Echo, basically, he rejected her.
Right.
So the gods went, "You are a horrible person. I'm going to take vengeance on you." We love a bit of god vengeance, don't we, guys?
Oh, yeah.
We
when gods get pissed, yeah, go for it.
Language,
Richard. Do you know what? I'm going to start a swear jar for the both of you.
Well, this is true because I can't exactly pretend that I've been Little Miss Angel over here, can I?
No, exactly.
Last week's show. Apologies, everybody. And now Richard's at it.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Anyway, right. So basically, Narcissus is a hunter, right? He's the son of the river god, as we've talked about. Very beautiful. Loads of people fell in love with him. He was one of those people. But he wasn't accepting of that, and he got quite arrogant about it. He was very contemptuous. "Oh, you love me." Oh, you know what I mean? He got very up his own backside, I would think, on this one. Now, one day he was actually out hunting in the woods, and the nymph Echo spotted him and was like, "Hello, sailor."
Hello.
Kind of like to look at you pretty boy.
Ding dong.
That's kind of how it went. Now, Narcissus sensed that someone was following him, so she stalked him a bit through the woods. She eventually revealed herself and tried to hug him, right? Which is a bit forward. Everybody, don't just follow somebody through the woods and then just attempt to hug them. Like, there's a bit of like, toing and froing on that one. Yeah. He pushed her off, said, "Look, I'm on the hunt, girls, nymph. Wait, nymph, I'm on the hunt. Leave me alone. Don't disturb me." So she was very upset about this. I mean, Echo, she was in despair. I'm feeling palm to the forehead. Oh, kind of moment. And then basically she roamed the woods for the rest of her life and wilted away because of her, she's a bit weak. I'm going to say this. Rejected once and wilted away to become an echo of herself. So all that remained of her was this echo, hence the name.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, yeah. So that's the story of Echo. But I kind of... Anyway, my opinion of that is just like, really?
Yeah.
And she's like wilted away into nothing, really?
I thought Echo was a dolphin, but okay.
Well, she should live my life. She really would have been in trouble. Anyway, Nemesis.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have got a brand new cup.
Well, this is true.
Yeah, exactly.
This is true. I got a brand new cup, everybody out there listening. which I love. Anyway, Nemesis, the goddess of retribution and revenge, heard what happened and was like, no, you can't treat people like that, Narcissus. That's naughty behaviour. It's really not good behaviour. So she led him to a pool. Now, bearing in mind what the seer said, he can't recognise himself, right?
That's right.
He'll
I
live a
feel
long life as long as he
I
doesn't
feel-
recognise himself.
Yeah, I feel it's not going to go well from here on.
No,
No,
I've got a
this
strange feeling about that and all.
this is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
He saw his reflection in the water, fell in love with it.
Oh.
But he didn't recognise that was his reflection. He just, oh, who is this Fitty McVitty? I'm like, well, hey, ding dong. And basically, he just, and then his despair, because he realised eventually that this was a reflection and not actually something he can attach to and have and own. He
Yeah.
fell into despair. He realised it could not materialise for him, and he committed suicide. So he fell in love with his own reflection and pined away and killed himself.
Oh.
Now, the flower that bears his name sprang up where he died, which is the Narcissus.
Okay.
Oh, is it a flower? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's a little purple flower.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Now, as I say, there are variations of this story. Now, Pausanias, who was a Greek traveller and geographer, said it was more likely that he had a twin sister. And when she died, he sat gazing into the water because it was the only way he could get closer to his sister. Because he could gaze upon her perfection, because obviously they look the same because they're twins, right? Yeah. And that's that he, pined away and by looking for his sister. So there is a variation on that story. But yeah, how awful for him. That's the story of Narcissus.
Oh.
Vain man.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yep. Indeedy.
Gotta love a bit of Greek mythology though, for revenge from gods and
Oh,
horrible
totally.
happenings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side of this, you've got the Roman culture alongside this, right? Now, a mirror seer actually used waters. They called it the mirror seer. Yeah, but it was actually water that she was using. And they would divine future. They would use it as a form of divination. Yeah. Now, they call this oh God, bear with. Catoptomancy.
Yeah, catoptomancy. Yeah, one or the other.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they then went into using an actual mirror when they became more available. But if the mirror broke during the divination session, then basically that meant death for the future seeker. That's a bit worrying. I'm going to see the mirror seer today. Don't want the mirror to break. What if she didn't like him and just thought, "Oh, sod you, I'm going to break this mirror and make you die." You know what I mean?
Make you a bit worried. Yeah.
A bit worried. Yeah. Now they believed. The Romans, believed that mirrors are any reflective surface with a reflection of the human soul, and that they shouldn't be misused. Something terrible could happen and the soul would be lost in the mirror. So they had this belief system surrounding the reflective surface. Now, so part of that comes from their belief, in the divination process and using seers, and they were quite spiritual. That's kind of where they were. They had the belief in folklore and mythology.
Yeah.
And they said, which actually, when I was looking at that facet, I was thinking that's quite true. If you're having a really crap day about yourself and you look in a mirror, you see your imperfections. Don't you?
Yeah.
We call it.
No, because I'm perfect.
I try and do this with men, everybody. It's so difficult sometimes because when a girl has a fat day, all she can see is she's looking fat and blobby in the mirror.
No,
If you're
perfect.
having a good day, where you think I'm looking well good today, you look in the mirror and you see good. You do. Your perception of yourself changes with what you're seeing in front of you, and that's not the reflection changing, that's your perception of the reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of can understand that, where that belief system comes from, because it's reflecting back at you how you feel about yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I do get that. And yeah, sort of some days you wake up, you're feeling good, you look in the mirror, you look good, you know, but if you're feeling, you know, pretty down, you know, and it can reflect. And the mirror can reflect that.
It most certainly can. So even to this day, when we talk about, you know, like you break a mirror brings 7 years bad luck.
Yeah.
This actually goes back again to Roman times. The Romans believed that the soul would renew itself every 7 years.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would then get absorbed into the mirror. You know what I mean? So it's that renewal process of the mirror reflecting that, and the 7 years bad luck with the mirror thing. And obviously that goes back to the seer breaking the mirror and you might die kind of scenario. So this is why the mirror thing is quite important to the Romans, and why we say 7 years bad luck if you break a mirror. Now you can, and that's still prevalent today. That's one of the modern day superstitions that still is around. It goes back to Roman times, but you can change it, because if you break a mirror, what you're supposed to do is gather up all the broken bits and bury them.
All right.
Deep into the ground.
Okay.
Okay. So if you do break a mirror, it's not irretrievable. You don't have to have 7 years bad luck. You just got to bury the mirror, but make sure you get all of the bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, because I was thinking, right, okay, so that's kind of like the divination side of mirrors.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we still use today in the paranormal field, and it's quite a thing that people still do and whatnot. But then I thought there's been some quite astonishingly amazing mirrors in history, right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
what,
like the Mirror of Avocet.
are you bringing Harry Potter to the
Of course
table?
I don't know. It might be a proper mirror. I don't know. Just
But was
guessing.
it the mirror of Eristat is just a reflection of what you want to see, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
It was what you desired the most.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a form of divination. I mean, it went a bit further than that, because they would appear like you standing, like he was looking in the mirror and seeing him standing with his parents.
Yeah.
Which again is just, he's psychologically projecting that. And going into the Harry Potter world, you've got the moving photographs, haven't you?
Yeah, that's correct.
So when you think about that, she's overlaid the moving bit onto the mirror and reflecting you into what you want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like where she's taken that. But again, it's just like a form of divination, reflecting back to you what you want the most.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
There's a lot of actual examples of that throughout literature. I mean, Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth Bennet spends time staring in front of the mirror and then sees Mr. Darcy appear behind her, but he actually does appear behind her and leaves her a letter explaining his actions and things like that. And she's like, what was that? What? Is that really what I wanted to see, Mr. Darcy? Or was he really here? And oh, yeah, actually he was. Okay, that's fine. I'm not losing my marbles after all. But yeah, so there are lots of examples of that. Anyway, let's talk about history, because one of the most famous places to do with mirrors is, it's got to be Versailles, right?
It's got to
Yeah.
be Versailles, yeah. Was it the Hall of Mirrors? The Grand Hall of Mirrors, whatever it's called.
That's right, it is. Now, there's a very famous encounter that happened at Versailles as time slip.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, haven't we? Where they were walking in the gardens, the two ladies were walking in the gardens, and it felt very muted. Then all of a sudden they started coming across characters from that period of time. And anyway, that's a different story for a different show, because it's a different subject. But I thought, let's look at the Hall of Mirrors, because if they're that symbolic to people, there must have been something there for kings and queens to make these phenomenal pieces of architecture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So we're actually going back to the reign of Louis the 14th. Did we find out that, Richard?
Yes.
On these.
Yes, Louis the 14th. Yeah.
And his reign was during what they called the Great Century. Now, when we think of that century, we think of an absolute monarch, centralized state.
Yes.
And we think about like a powerhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what King Louis was all about. Now, he came to the throne at a tender age. He was tutored by Cardinal Mazarin, and they called him the Sun King.
Yeah.
Okay. He moved to the royal court, to the Palace of Versailles, and basically the whole palace and the lands and the landscaping and everything was just the ultimate symbol of power and influence, right? So everybody in Europe was going, wow, look at his court. That's pretty impressive. I want that. That's impressive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he created this hall of mirrors. It's 73 meters long.
Wow.
That's a long corridor. That's a long, room.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And basically, this was all about Louis stating his power and his success of France. It's like, we're so amazing. Look at us. I'm so great because I'm in charge of it all. And look what I've brought to the table. And so it was a really good time for the French in regards to the political, economical, artistic success of France at that time. Now, in the hallway, there's 30 painted compositions on the ceiling by Lebrun, and it basically depicts the history of Louis during his 18 years of reign. Yeah, so it's all designed to demonstrate that. He's putting it out there on the table going, look how great I am. I'm freaking amazing. There's 357 mirrors there.
That's a few, isn't it?
That's a heck of a lot. You can't escape that reflection. And it's about when you come into his court, you are being reflected in his power, and you are reflected the success and everything that he brought to the table.
Yeah.
And at this time when it was built, they were the most expensive items to possess. And they came from Venice.
Yeah.
Now, France managed to bring the Venetian mirror makers over to create this for the palace. Now, legend has it that to keep the monopoly purely for France, and so the craftsmen wouldn't give away their secret, that the Venetian government, kept an eye on the craftsmen movements and forbade them to leave the city under penalty of death.
Right, I see.
Now, the whole area is, the hall itself is just dripping with architectural designs that are so reflective of the French style at that time. Now, do you remember when we did the heraldry show, we talked about the fleur-de-lis? Yeah. So you see lots of fleur-de-lis in there, topped by a royal sun between two Gaelic roosters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the symbol of France is a rooster, isn't it? Cockerel.
Exactly. Yeah, and the fleur-de-lis, obviously, we looked into the symbology of that regarding their religious belief systems.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if when you look at this in the daytime, it's something special anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all golden mirrors. You imagine the light play on that. At night, it had 20,000. Imagine lighting them. 20,000 candles.
Bloody hell.
All that light bouncing backwards and forwards. God, that is not soft lighting for us ladies. All I'm saying.
No. I mean that would show up every nook and cranny.
Certainly did. And obviously that transformed it at night to something ultra amazing too.
Yeah.
Now, it's been the site of some phenomenal pieces or important moments, should we say, in history. The Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, that's after the First World War, yeah.
that ended the state of war between Germany and the Allied powers, and that was signed on the 28th of June 1919, exactly 5 years after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which started the war.
Yeah.
Exactly 5 years.
Cool.
So when you think about the symbology of that, that is quite a powerful thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Of course it is.
And that's all basically from a king. I kind of want to go, look how big my dick is. Look what I've got. That is a king's version of, look at my new car. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Sorry, guys out there, but you kind of do shit like that. And I'll just put some money in the swear jar for those two expressions.
£25 in the swear jar now.
Okay, sorry. I apologise, everybody. Apologise. Now, so that was one of the places my brain went. Now, going completely opposite, bringing it right into modern times, we also talked about the Roman belief system regarding capturing of souls. And if you die, your soul gets sucked into the mirror, which is why they cover mirrors when you die and stuff like that. So if a mirror witnesses an event in front of it, it's going to harbour.
Yeah.
This is where we go to do objects hold energy kind of scenario. So we have to talk about the Bela Lugosi mirror, right?
Absolutely. Can't leave that one out.
Not really. Now, this particular mirror witnessed something horrible, which we'll go into in a bit. But what do we think about that concept? Do we think that mirrors can do that?
What's that? Trap soul?
Trap a soul or maintain?
Is a reflection of your soul.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Hold the energy.
You can see why people would think that. But I personally, knowing what I know now about mirrors and stuff like that, yeah. Are they a gateway? Possibly. We do talk about crossover points, and a mirror would make a good crossover point, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so. At the end of the day, it's a reflection. It's not a doorway because it's bouncing the image back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you see on the other side of a mirror is what's being reflected from behind you, isn't it?
Have
Does
you
that make
never
sense?
looked in a mirror and felt uneasy?
Constantly. That's why I don't have mirrors.
No, not about yourself, but like when you've looked in the mirror, you feel uneasy. I mean, I've got a massive mirror on my hallway, haven't I, on my stairwell?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've always said that when stuff manifests in my house, it starts on the stairwell.
Yes, and that is a big mirror.
That's a massive mirror I have. It's like takes up most of the wall. Yeah. And I've always said that when I'm manifesting or when I've manifested something or we've done work here in that way, divination work or scrying work, it's always come from that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I still. It's still a reflection. I mean, I can understand looking into water because there isn't that. It's the water that reflects back. But in like a modern day mirror, for example, it is literally a sheet of glass with silver paper on the back. So there's nothing on the other side.
Right.
So yeah, I don't.
Yes, you're going to your practical mind again, aren't you?
Absolutely, I just can't get over that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Bela Lugosi, the Bela Lugosi mirror. Now, Bela Blasco is his name, otherwise known as Bela Lugosi, was actually a Hungarian-American actor. Remember the 1931 film of Count Dracula?
Yep.
Yes.
They always want to go, mwah, ha, ha. Yeah. Now, he was a small-time actor in his native of Hungary and got his first film role in a film in 1917. He had to leave the country after the Communist Revolution of 1919. And then basically he acted in several films in Germany and then ended up in the United States. Now, in 1927, he appeared as Count Dracula in a Broadway adaptation of Bram Stoker Dracula, and then later appeared in the 1931 film Dracula by Universal Pictures. Now, at this time, it was quite a niche film. It was quite, we all know the 1931 film. I think even Richard played it during lockdown one night.
I think he did,
yeah. I think I did, yeah.
And it had quite an impact. It's a horror movie. It's a genre. Everyone loves a horror movie to some greater or lesser degree, right?
Of course they do. Yeah.
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 And because of his accent, he was quite limited in his repertoire. Now, after the Dracula scenario, now bearing in mind, Dracula in the Bram Stoker movies comes from Transylvania, and his accent kind of fitted that quite nicely, right? So he had very difficult time after that role because he was going to be typecast, right?
Yeah.
Now, he kind of comes into this, it becomes important because this mirror has been attributed to be owned by Bela Lugosi himself. Right? And the mirror that we're referring to has a bit of a history of its own.
Yeah.
So there's a tale of the former owner telling how her uncle was brutally murdered in front of the mirror. Now, the significance of that is that allegedly he was in one of Lugosi's homes when that happened. So the mirror witnessed the crime, absorbed the dark energy of the moment. Yeah, she believed that it was either a mob killing or a friend killed him. There was no signs of forced entry and then nothing was taken. So it doesn't seem to be linked to that. Now, the guy who was murdered was Saletri. He was a lawyer, a producer, director, writer, and actor. He wrote several film scripts and spoofs. He kind of did. It's a bit like the Mel. I nearly said Mel Gibson. It's not Mel Gibson, is it?
Mel Brooks.
Thank you. Yeah, of his day. He finally succeeded in producing one, Blackenstein, in 1973. And he seemed to be a fun and loving man, but he was brutally murdered in front of the mirror, right?
Yeah.
And his body was found on July the 12th, 1982, bound up in the master bedroom with a single gunshot to the back of the head. And this is typical gangland execution style.
Yeah.
Okay, remains unsolved even to this day. We don't. How many mob killings ever got solved? Really?
2.
Really?
No, I don't know. It's just a number I plucked from the air.
Oh, okay. But this allegedly happened in front of the mirror. Now, Lugosi allegedly, and lots of allegedlys in this, was apparently into the occult and used the mirror within his rituals.
Oh, right.
So the owner, the former owner, says that she feels the mirror had something bad attached to it because when she had the mirror, there were experiences surrounding the mirror that they don't really discuss. They don't go into the experiences, but there's a couple of references to hands reaching out, teeth marks against her neck, very Dracula-fied, shadowy figures appearing in the mirror. Now, her sister goes on to say that when she slept in the same room as the mirror, she had a nightmare, woke up with scratches on her body.
Right.
Right, so she wanted to get rid of it, which is like kind of what you would do, right?
Yeah.
So she said that she couldn't sell it or even give it away. I'm sure in nowadays it's not a problem because it's got like pedigree, should we say. It's been owned by Bela Lugosi. It's had this traumatic event happen in front of it, and the family are having experiences from the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? Prime ghost hunting kind of people wanting it.
Yeah.
So anyway, she says that she couldn't find anybody. So she donated the mirror to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Perfect place for it, right?
Yeah.
Now, shortly after accepting the mirror into the museum, excuse me a second. Oh dear. The basement was flooded, and Zach went to investigate. He recorded bangs and rattling in the basement. However,
Sure.
a few red flags in there on the research that people have done since. Check out the Skeptical Inquirer. There's a huge, big research project that took place. There is no record of Lugosi living at the address or being in the address that the murder happened.
Right.
There is no evidence at all that he performed occult rituals.
Mm-hmm.
So, two main facets of this mirror's alleged pedigree are unaligned.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, that brings the whole story into
into sort of a disrepute, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. One last note about Bela Lugosi, he died in his sleep about 6:45 on August the 16th, 1956. He was 73. Now, they reckon he had a coronary occlusion with myocardial fibrosis. I assume that's heart attack.
Yeah.
And his body was actually discovered by his fifth wife, Hope Pryor.
Gosh, no wonder he had a heart attack.
I was say I don't know whether that is a heart attack. I mean, a heart attack is known as a myocardial infarction.
Okay.
So it obviously it's something to do with the heart, but I don't know.
Well, his heart gave out in the end,
Yeah,
whatever
it's
way it did
knackered.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, when he lay in state, he was laid out in his full Dracula garb.
Ooh, that'd be funny for anyone that digs him up.
I know, right? You could just imagine, like, in years to come, he was like the ultimate Dracula. You know what I mean? We found
Yeah.
Dracula's grave. No, it's Bela Lugosi. We've got it documented. It's fine.
No, it's Dracula.
It was said that in his will, it was his wish to be buried in his famous Dracula costume, although it was actually the decision of Lugosi's fourth wife, Lillian, and their son, Bella Jr.
Right.
So, you know,
That's excellent.
bless him. But yeah, if you was to dig him up, then you would find him in full garb.
That's excellent.
I kind of like that, right?
Yeah, that is good, isn't it?
I kind of like that. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So far we've looked at three different concepts regarding a reflective surface. We've looked at the original, which was like the tale of Narcissus. We've looked at mythology and that side of things. We've looked at the Hall of Mirrors, which is basically the reflection of how amazing France was and the king was, and power and all that sort of thing. And we've looked at how mirrors retain energy, that belief system between retaining energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, at this point in the show, let's talk about those three concepts a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, come on, what do you think?
Well, mirrors have always been used for like scrying. I mean, and and you talk to any sort of person that is well versed in the occult, they seem to have quite a strong belief that mirrors do actually hold this quality, or reflective surfaces do actually hold something that if you can attune to it, you can actually access.
See, yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, the modern mirror, I think, is more of a invention of the modern paranormal groups out there. I think for scrying purposes, you'll need to have something like water, or even the black polished obsidian, because again, it's a more of a natural source, and I think that would hold more energy and be able to produce more responses instead of looking into a modern day mirror. And by modern paranormal teams, I'm talking like, you know, this sort of in the 20th century onwards, you know, not just this particular era even. So yeah, I think as mirrors have progressed, the more the things we class as mirrors, which is the glass with the silver backing or whatever backing they've got, I don't believe that they're really suited to scrying. I think it's more of a natural source energy, like an occultist would probably work with the old black obsidian. Kerry, you'll know more about that than I do.
Yeah, I mean, allegedly John Dee used a scrying a crystal ball, didn't he?
Yeah.
There is supposed to be a black obsidian mirror as well that he used, a black mirror that he used, but that's kind of think they've kind of.
But I mean that sort of thing hasn't been treated like the modern day mirror.
True.
You know, and I think, you know, the modern day mirror is just rubbish. It just reflects, and maybe when people look into it and see changes in their faces and things, I think that's just an optical illusion. I don't believe that's spiritual in any way. But if you was to do scrying on an obsidian, it is literally a crystal, and okay, it reflects, but it's still a natural source, if that makes sense. Natural through. It hasn't been
treated. Get what you're saying. Yeah, sort of a natural reflection as opposed to a sort of
man-made one.
Yeah, because I suppose you could class a modern mirror is a man-made artifact, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, true. I mean, having my belief in crystals that I do, it's which is I acknowledge that is a belief system that I have within me in regard to the energy of crystals. Yeah, the black obsidian side works better for me personally, or scrying within a quartz ball sphere, you know, rather than a modern day glass crystal ball, which a lot of people use these days, because you can get crystal balls, but you know, most of them are glass. To get a decent sized quartz ball, it's incredibly expensive, as you know. But they are amazing to work with when you work with those. In fact, tonight, it's a Friday. It's a good night for doing ritual work. And yeah, that's what we're recording the show on the Friday. And, you know, quite often after we finish a show, I'll go and do some spiritual work and use these kind of methods within that. You know, I just don't talk about it particularly very often of what I get, because my work is private in that respect. But, you know, I think it is one of those. It is incredibly difficult to have that. I think you kind of have to have the belief.
Well, yeah, of course. You mean,
but all magic that you do, you have to have the belief there to make it work.
Yeah.
Because if you think, oh, well, I'll do it, but I don't really believe in it, then ultimately it's not going to work. It's your power, your intention, your belief in that drives it. It gives it that energy.
Well, someone very clever once said that magic is only something that science hasn't explained yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Doctor Who.
I think that actually came from somebody else.
Okay, but she said it on Doctor Who as well.
Oh, well, if she said it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just thought, actually, yeah, that does make sense.
Well, we've talked about energy goes where attention flows.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, when we were talking to Kerry Ann a couple of weeks ago, that's a saying that we've used quite a lot. If you're focused on something, you're likely to achieve that.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you do that, I mean, bearing in mind people have free will, folks. You can't change somebody's mind. So if you're going to do any spell work or ritual work, you can't change somebody's free will. It is their free will. And no good comes from trying to change someone's free will. That's what I will put out there.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to do manifestation for yourself, then you can affect that change within the environment around you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I just had to put that little disclaimer out there in case anybody thought, oh, right, well, my attention's on these. I can change the outcome of, I don't know, a court case, for example.
Yeah.
Going on that one at the moment. I think we're all a little bit enthralled by that. So you can't change somebody's free will within that. What you can change is perception of things. You can change the overall energy of the situation, and from that, change will possibly facilitate, but it still allows that person the free will.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why when you see love spells and stuff out there, or manifestation spells that you can buy readily online, it's all focused on the possibility of just changing the perception surrounding the situation, and then hopefully everything will align, rather than changing the free will of a person, because it won't work.
No.
All right, so there's that's that ethos of that, just to put that out there for everybody. But you've only got to look how deceptive mirrors can be. When you think about the fairground, it only takes a little wobble in the actual integrity to create a completely different illusion in a mirror. As I think about fairground mirrors, and you've got an elongated neck, or you've got like super long legs or something. When you look in the mirror, because the integrity of the mirror has been compromised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So be aware of that. If you're doing it, always, mirror scrying, this is, always be aware of that warp factor within your perception, if you're not doing it with pure, clean, positive intention.
Yeah.
Now there's a concept. Talking of which, has anybody ever stood in front of a mirror and done the Bloody Mary thing?
Oh, who hasn't?
Richard probably hasn't.
I haven't. No, you're right there, Kerry.
Yeah, but who stood in front of the mirror and done the Candyman one?
No.
I have.
Right.
I'm still here.
Oh. Did you have any bad experiences through that?
No, it's a mirror, isn't it? It reflects me.
Did you not even get a little bit freaked out?
No, because there's no one on the other side.
Richard, for somebody who's in the paranormal, he's very
very aloof, isn't he?
He can sometimes come across as incredibly sceptical.
No, at the end of the day, as I said to you, it's a man-made treated bit of glass that reflects everything behind me, or in front of the mirror. Basically, there's nothing on the other side. Now, if it was a like polished Obsidian, I probably wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
I might get you doing that.
I don't think you might.
I'm going to make you do that.
No.
Why not?
I don't want to.
Yeah, why not? Go for it.
I think you should.
We'll see. We'll see.
Now, there's an experiment we have to force him to do, folks, right?
Yep.
He debunks the mirror thing, but if I gave him an Obsidian scrying glass, he wouldn't do it in front of it.
No.
Well,
Make
you've
me do
got
it in
some
front of my
Obsidian,
house.
haven't you, Paul?
I do have some, yeah.
I want to see him do it. I don't want him just to do it and say he's done it, because I won't believe him. I want to actually witness him doing it, and I want you to use mine, because that's infused. That's like...
Okay.
Hello,
Oh,
Harry
right.
Price here. If there's nothing
Anyway,
me and
we've got
my
a break
friends
now.
enjoy more here on the other
We
side,
certainly
it is to sit
do.
back and
Join us
relax
right
and listen to the
after.
Paranormal Concept Show, right here on the PAUK Radio Network. Broadcasting a plethora of interesting and informative content for all your paranormal needs. Find them across social media to keep up to date with forthcoming shows and all their other adventures. Hello, is there anybody there?
And welcome back to the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the Paranormal UK Radio Network. My name is Kerry Greenaway. Anyway, we continuing with the show on mirrors, right?
Yeah.
We are. Yeah.
Okay. I got a bit carried away there.
You did a bit, didn't you?
Just a little bit. Sorry. Sorry, folks.
Showboat.
Anyway, mirrors. So I couldn't go much further without. Right, we talked about treasure hunts as well on a previous show.
We did.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
We do like a good treasure hunt.
We love a bit of a mystery surrounding a treasure, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a really famous piece of architecture, shall we say, that has gone missing. Ooh. Now, this is the Amber Room, Russian.
Yeah.
Yes.
St. Petersburg, I believe, from Catherine the Great's palace. She had
Catherine
a
the
room.
Great, amazing woman.
Yeah, she had a room made totally of amber.
She did.
It's
Now,
amazing.
how is this relevant to do with mirrors? Because there was hell of a lot of mirrors in there as well. I stopped myself from swearing then.
Good.
They did have mirrors in
hell
there
of a lot of mirrors. Now,
to enhance it. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. In World War II, obviously the Nazis stole something like 600,000 pieces of art from across Europe.
Yeah.
Right? This is billions of pounds worth of artwork that was stolen, and people still don't know where half of it is.
No,
Yeah.
it still crops up even today, sort of artworks and stuff. Yeah.
Now, their looting was, I mean, God, they kind of did everything on an industrial scale, right?
Yeah.
Now, some of the artwork has been found and returned to the original owners. Some are still missing. Now, one of the things that is missing is basically this artifact known as the Amber Room, and it's a collection of amber panels, and they were stolen. Now, it was called the Eighth Wonder of the World, and it was one of Russia's most treasured artifacts.
Yeah.
Okay. After its looting, the room was returned to Germany and put on display. But then in the closing months of the war, it actually disappeared. And this mystery of what happened to the Amber Room is something that's still going on to the day. They still don't know definitively.
Well, no, yeah, there many a treasure hunter have been out looking for it. Some people do claim to know where it is. I think at the moment there's a bit of excitement around a shipwreck they've found in the Baltic, which they believe may contain the Amber Room. They were sending divers down to have a look, but like everything that appears like news, you sort of hear these tidbits and then you hear nothing else of it. You think, oh, I look forward to following this story.
Yeah, I think the reason is because it's in the middle of the Arctic waters,
Yeah.
where all the winds and stuff make it all choppy. I think the divers are only allowed half an hour down there, because I watched a documentary on it the other week. So I didn't know this was coming up in the research.
Yeah.
Synchronicity, folks.
Absolutely.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. So yeah, they found it, but the divers at the time when they discovered it only had like 20 minutes down there, and then had to come up. And now they know, or they think it's there. They've got to secure all the permits and everything to dive down and get loads of staff as well, because they've got half an hour and they want to keep sending divers down and rotate.
Yeah, like rotate it.
Yeah.
So that's what they're in the process of doing at the moment.
Right.
I don't know how far along they have on that, but I'm sure as soon as it's.
Well, they are quite confident it's on there.
They are, yeah, they're quite confident that it's on there. But at the moment, all they've found is the boxes. They haven't actually opened the boxes. So, knowing their luck, they'll bring the boxes up, open it, and there'll be, I don't know, Cecil Crab waving at them or something.
Who's Cecil Crab?
See, don't worry about it. Krusty Krab. We'll go with Krusty.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, folks. He's thrown another one out there. I'm like, what's he going on about?
Yeah, that's confused with a bit of SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Oh, no, if you said SpongeBob, then I would have got it.
Yeah, Krusty Krab. We go with Krusty Krab, so you know who he is.
You don't have two boys in the house without learning about SpongeBob SquarePants.
No.
Right, anyway, the Amber Room dates back to 1701 when German Baroque sculptor Andreas Schluter began working on it. At the time, he was the chief architect of the Prussian royal court, and he used amber for interior decoration for something new. Now, amber, as we know, is the fossilized tree resin, and the Baltic region is basically the best quality that you can get there, right?
Okay.
Now, he planned to adorn the walls of one of the rooms in Charlottenburg Palace, that's in Berlin, with amber panels. Now, the palace was home to Frederick I, the first king of Prussia, and his wife, Queen Sophie Charlotte. Now, to complete the task, he enlisted the help of a Danish amber craftsman, Gottfried Wolfram.
Wolfram.
Now, basically, to realise the dream of this particular way of working with it, they had to devise new ways of working with amber. So they heated it, they dipped in an infusion of honey and linseed, and then they worked it onto the panels of wood, and they covered it in gold and silver leaf and decorated with precious jewels.
Right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, basically, they continued working on the room until the deaths of Sophie Charlotte and Frederick, and eventually the room was installed in the Berlin City Palace, where in 1716 the visiting Russian Tsar, Peter the Great, fell in love with it. Now, to forge an alliance between the two states, Frederick's son, Frederick William I, presented Peter with the room as a gift. Nice gift.
Yeah.
Nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Beautiful. It was deconstructed, placed into large boxes, and moved to the city Peter had just founded, St. Petersburg. And in 1755, Peter's daughter, Empress Elizabeth, had the room relocated to the Catherine Palace in modern-day Pushkin, just outside of St. Petersburg.
Cool.
Okay?
Yeah, I never knew that. I never knew it was actually somewhere else before.
Oh, thank you, Smithsonian Museum.
Yeah.
Basically. Now, other Russians and German and Italian craftsmen worked on the room in the coming years, changed it to new large surroundings. It was completed in 1770. The room covered 590 square feet, was adorned with over 6 tons of amber.
Oh, there's a lot of amber there.
A heck of a lot of amber. Pieces of art were incorporated in it, and basically it was so splendid. It's like 8th wonder of the world, right?
Yeah.
It was estimated worth is between 120 to 240 million pounds.
Well, not much then.
Quite a lot of money, right?
No, pocket money.
Even now, Baltic amber is quite expensive.
Yeah, I'll have four of the rooms made myself, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. And the room remained a Russian treasure through the 18th and 19th centuries, and it even survived the revolution in 1917. However, when Hitler closed in on St. Petersburg, it was called Leningrad back in there. It was Operation Barbarossa.
Yeah.
Head art curator Anatoly Kuchumov.
Yeah.
He was tasked with taking the precious amber room apart and prepping it for the safe removal to the east. Now, he soon discovered that the amber panels had become brittle over time and they would be badly damaged if removal was attempted. So he ordered the room to be covered by a thin layer of wallpaper, hoping that the Nazis wouldn't notice.
Yeah, they papered over it. Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that.
They're trying to hide it, weren't they?
They were trying to hide it because they couldn't dismantle it, basically. Not without breaking it.
Yeah.
Now, Hitler knew about the history of the amber room. He's not stupid. And he said the artwork was German. It was German-made and should be returned to his homeland to be enjoyed by his own countrymen.
Mm-hmm.
They knew exactly what they were looking for. Within 36 hours, they had found it, stripped the panels from the walls and packaged them into crates.
Right.
The crates were shipped to Königsberg in Germany on the Baltic coast, which is now Kaliningrad.
Kaliningrad, that's right, yeah.
And the room was re-elected in Königsberg Castle. I probably haven't said that right because there's a dot above the O.
Yeah, I think it's Königsberg.
Yeah. Okay. And it remained on display there for the next 2 years. Now, then the war turned, the Allies sort of kind of won that. And the room was once again on the move. So Hitler ordered everything from Königsberg to be shipped out. Okay. In 1944, the RAF heavily bombed Königsberg, including its historic quarters. Right. So fire rained down on the city as the Soviets advanced towards it in 1945. Now, during this, the actual castle museum was destroyed. So there is a question mark. Was the Amber Room evacuated in time, or did it actually succumb to the bombings? Now, when the Red Army actually marched into that particular city, the Amber Room was nowhere to be seen.
And its final resting place, well, still a mystery to this day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still a mystery to this day. And like they say, some people think that it was on the ship that got sunk. Some people think that it got burned in the fire. Now, amber you can burn amber.
It will, yeah.
It will melt.
I bet Johnny Depp would love that.
What? Oh! Probably he would. Unfortunately.
Allegedly
he's not. No, but why am I bringing the Amber Room when we're talking about mirrors? Because not only was it the amber panels that are the the wonder of that particular room and the jewels that were incorporated within it, but the room itself actually had a huge amount of mirrors as well. So you're seeing, because amber's that gold color, isn't it? It's a rich goldy color. Think Jurassic Park. Think the insect on top of the guy's walking stick. That's the color of amber, that beautiful rich buttery honey color. And think of the walls adorned with that, with the gold gilt, the jewels, and the mirrors reflecting that beauty. That is going to be a piece of astonishing architecture if they ever discover it. There is, I think, a reconstruction of what they think it was.
Yes, I think there is, yeah.
There is a reconstruction in the room in the palace where it was. It's quite a good one, actually, by all accounts.
Yeah, with modern people, like modern techniques, I don't think it's actually amber though, is it?
No, I don't think it is. No, too expensive.
It's probably a resin.
Yeah.
To make it more, I would have thought so. But in its heyday, I have to say, when you look back at the artifacts of the past, okay, we're talking about mirrors, but let's go on a little diversion. The jewels and stuff that have been found and lost over the years.
Yeah.
And we're not finding that quality now. The heyday for those kind of things has passed, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you probably couldn't get 6 tons of amber now, could you?
Well, you could. You just have to pay for it through the nose, wouldn't you?
Yeah, they still do find quite a lot of amber, but it's small chunks, not big chunks. And if you want amber, again, there's a heck of a lot of fake out there on the market. And actually, like after the Jurassic Park scenario with the walking stick thing, the insect inside there was a huge market for amber with the insect inclusion within it, just for that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And you could get it everywhere. Shops with all sorts of different animals within the amber that's allegedly, real. But trust me, real amber with real insect inclusions is actually quite rare.
Right.
It's really quite rare. So you see ones with full-blown scorpions in there, full-blown spiders in there, and all sorts of things in it now. That's not been naturally found. That has been recreated, and it's resin, not amber. If you want real amber, you go to the Baltic Amber Company, and you'll know it's the real deal. Any amber bought from anywhere else is a bit difficult to guarantee it's genuine, or a reputable crystal seller as well. But I've not had any amber for absolutely ages. You do get something called blue amber, which is more Peruvian, which is a darker hue, and UV rays, like if you put it under a UV torch, it has that blue essence, hence why it's called blue amber. And black amber is jet, and the best jet is from Whitby.
Yes.
Up there in Count Dracula country now.
That's right, bringing the Dracula link back through to it. So, you know, when you start looking at the properties of amber, really good for teething. If you've got a child that's teething, apparently amber is supposed to be brilliant for it.
Oh, right.
Put an amber bracelet or a necklace on them, and that's supposed to help with teething. And it's quite a spiritual stone in its own right.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Couple that with a mirror. Oh my God.
Yeah, what have you got? You couple with a mirror, you got a mirror and a bit of amber.
Yeah. Fair enough. Whatever you want to do. Couldn't go much further in this without looking at Alice through the looking glass. Now, what do we make of Lewis Carroll's work?
I reckon he was on some sort of trip.
Well, that's one way of looking at it.
Well, yeah, you know, he must have had some sort of imagination to come up with that. And I think he may have had help from personal experiences with hallucinogenics.
Absolutely, it does sort of strike you as that, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
And especially with it just goes to prove that if you find bottles and a bag of sweets or whatever, just left somewhere that says eat me and drink me, leave them alone.
Yeah, and you can look at Lewis Carroll's sort of work, and especially Alice through the looking glass, and there's more to it than just his imagination. I think he was dabbling in some nice mushrooms they brought back from the woodland.
Narcotics. Yeah, he was definitely on something.
Magic mushrooms extraordinaire, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're going with it.
If he wasn't, that is some weird dream.
Yeah.
I think maybe we need to get a psychologist on to talk about that.
Through the Looking Glass is the sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It was first published in 1871, and according to Alice Liddell, the young girl inspired Lewis Carroll to write the Alice books. Now, basically, the Looking Glass has its origins in a game of chess.
Yes.
Now, incidentally, Lewis Carroll's real name is Charles Ludwig Stodson.
Right.
Try saying that when you're drunk 5 times.
I know, right? I had a bit of trouble saying that when I was sober.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And these are the tales that he used to talk to the girls about when they were learning to play chess.
Oh, right.
I think maybe as well, he sort of set up this Wonderland in the first one, and then thought, well, in a sequel, how can we get back to that Wonderland? Because I think the first one, she fell down a rabbit hole, didn't she?
She did.
So this
Followed the white rabbit.
Yeah, this is why you should be careful of rabbit holes, Kerry. But the second one, it was a case of, well, how can we get back there? I know, we'll go through the Looking Glass. It's very much like it's C.S. Lewis and the Narnia Chronicles. Because each time the children go back to Narnia, there's a different way they do it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
They don't always go through the back of the wardrobe.
No, they only went. That was the Lion Witch in the wardrobe. They went through the wardrobe. The second one was on. I think in the second movie, they went through on the Underground, London Underground.
My God, the Underground's got a lot to answer for.
And I think in the third one of the movie trilogy, there was they went for a painting.
Oh, okay.
Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Yeah, they went through a painting on that one.
Oh. Well, in this particular one, Alice is sitting indoors on a winter's afternoon. She's curled up in the armchair with a kitten for company, as you do.
Oh.
It's snowing outside. And Alice asks her kitten to imitate one of the chess pieces in front of them. When the kitten doesn't do that, she holds up a mirror and threatens to expel it to the Looking Glass house. Now, when I first read that synopsis, of the, because I haven't actually read the books.
No,
I've read the first one. I've not read the Looking Glass.
No, I think it's a bit weird for me. So I know, I acknowledge I'm a little weird, right? But this is too far for me. I can't seem to get my head into it, right? But it reminds me of like when snow's falling outside. It's quite muffling, isn't it? It's a muffling sensation.
Yeah.
Everything goes quiet and still and takes you into like another realm.
Yeah.
In essence, as it were. And it becomes a very private, even if you're in a house, when it's snowing outside, it all becomes very muted.
Yeah.
Almost like you're scrying. She's also looking at chess in front of her. So she's got that mentally, she's slightly removed from self.
Yeah.
And even like the kitten factor in there, they say that the purr of a cat can induce a meditative state and a healing state. And then she has a mirror. You bring a mirror into that. So all of those facets sort of scream scrying to me.
Yeah.
In regards to a mental mindset. Because to her surprise, Alice then finds her transported into the Looking Glass world, which is arranged as a giant chessboard. It has various features such as Garden of Flowers. She finds a poem she cannot read because its words are back to front. A lot of the moves in the novel follow the rules of the game of chess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the queens tend to move about Looking Glass world a lot, whilst the kings don't.
Yeah.
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 I can see that, yeah.
And the characters within the world that she finds herself within are basically the chess pieces that have come to life. Now, having talked to some of the talking flowers in the garden, Alice meets the Red Queen and she finds herself being whisked onto a train, and her passengers include a gnat, a goat, and a man dressed in a white paper meant to represent Benjamin Disraeli.
All right.
So people are saying that it's a political statement.
Yeah.
They read the book and read all sorts of weird and wonderful alleged analogies within the book. Right, so she goes on this little journey on the train. She finds herself in a wood. Nothing has a name. She even forgets her own name. And she meets the fat twins, Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Yeah, I've met a few of them as well.
Okay. These are mirror images of each other, and they sing a song called The Walrus and the Carpenter. They fall out over a rattle, and then the White Queen whisks Alice off again and tells her that the rule in this Looking Glass world is jam today and jam yesterday, but never jam today.
Yeah.
Now, I just heard Bob Marley when I read that line.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it meant, but, you know, having not read the book, I don't know. The White Queen then turns into a sheep, which is busy knitting behind the counter of a shop where stock disappears whenever Alice tries to focus on it on the shelves. And then the shop transforms into a... It's like a dream, isn't it? The shop transforms into a boat, then back into a shop. Great. When the White Queen sheep thing tries to straighten an egg, which was wobbling on the shelf, we find ourselves in the countryside with a large egg with arms and legs sitting on the wall, Mr. Humpty Dumpty himself.
Oh, Mr. Dumpty.
Now, Humpty Dumpty explains the poem of the Jabberwocky to Alice, which is the poem she encountered as mirror writing when she first entered the glass world.
Right.
Yeah.
Once he's done that, he falls off the wall, and the king's horses and the king's men come to try to put him back together again. The king here is the White King.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Alice then goes to see the lion and the unicorn fighting over the crown, which obviously are the animal symbols of England and Scotland. And they are seen, as you know, on the coat of arms of Britain.
Yeah.
Which we talked about in the heraldry show.
We did.
Yeah.
There is argument in academic circles whether or not this is representing the Liberal politician and the UK Prime Minister at the time, William Ewart Gladstone, and the unicorn as the Tory politician, Benjamin Disraeli.
Disraeli.
Mm-hmm. Now, the White Knight, an inventor, sings a song, and Alice finds herself on a new square of the chessboard with a crown on her head. She was a pawn and has now become a queen, and she is sandwiched between the White Queen and the Red Queen. They analyse her. They don't think that she's worthy to be a queen like them.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Alice then finds herself at a feast between the Red and the White Queen. The food can talk at this particular banquet. Now, overcome with frustration, Alice shakes the Red Queen, who grows smaller in her hands until she turns into Alice's own kitten. And just like that, Alice leaves the looking glass world behind and is back in our world.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm sure Alice was quite relieved, because that sounds like an absolute nightmare of a dream to me.
It does. I don't know what she was on that night.
I know. Now, do you play chess, guys?
I do. I'm very good at it.
Do you have nice chess moves in this synopsis?
Yes. It was obviously centered around chess, so that it was involved quite a bit. Yeah.
So queens can move around quite a lot, can they?
Yeah, queen can move
any number of squares, any direction.
And what about knights? Are they the ones that can? Oh no, that's a bishop, isn't it? It can only move at diagonally.
A bishop moves diagonally, any number of squares. A knight, which is the little horsey, does like 2 and then 1 to the left or 1 to the right, or 1 up and then 2 to the right. So it's like in an L shape. And then a rook, which is the little castles, they can move any direction as long as it's a straight line.
Right.
Any number of squares. The pawns can only move two forward on the first move, and then 1 after that, and then only in straight directions, unless it's taking another piece. It can then go diagonal.
Right.
To take. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But they can't take going forward.
No.
And a king can move any direction but one piece, 1 square at a time.
Which is why they tend to stay where they are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they don't move very fast. Yeah.
And what's the point of chess?
To beat the other person.
Is it to checkmate?
Yeah, it's checkmate. Yeah.
What's checkmate?
Checkmate is when the king can't move anywhere without being taken.
So the game is is it to get all your pieces over to the other side of the board?
No, just to take the king.
Is to take the king.
Is to take
so
the
that's
king.
the last piece you would ever play, because where he moves, the chances are he's going to get taken by one of the other pieces.
Yeah.
Can a pawn take a king?
I don't know. I think in the official rules, you're not. I don't think they can. But I've never played. No, to be fair, no, I don't think they can. Because they could be taken by the king.
Right.
I suppose, unless they're covered by other pieces. I don't know.
Okay. Well, little rundown on chess for people out there.
Yeah, I've never got that far, to be fair. I've always pinned them down.
I have played it, but I'm not very good at it, obviously.
I normally do checkmate in about 15, 20 moves.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I taught my godsons to play it. And one of them can now beat me. I normally think about 3 moves ahead. Because it's a game of strategy. So I think about 3 moves ahead, put in my pieces where I want them to be able to take the king. But my godson can do like 5 ahead.
Oh, God.
And he beats me not every time, but yeah.
Quite a lot.
Yeah. So I'll stop playing him now.
As you do, folks, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Well, it kind of this is filtered down again through our culture. I would say Western culture probably more than anywhere else. So if you've ever heard the words chortle or galumph, yeah, or the linguistic term portmanteau word, or the phrase jam today, jam tomorrow but never jam today, or the idea of being through the looking glass now, you're dealing with basically concepts or terminology that's come up through this book. Now,
I've never heard heard the jam today. Jam
tomorrow,
never today. But I have seen a sign outside a pub that says free beer tomorrow. And then you go there tomorrow and it's got a sign out saying free beer tomorrow. They just keep it outside so tomorrow never comes.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's probably what it's getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard of that saying, to be fair. I've not heard of that saying. I've heard, obviously, chortle.
Yeah.
Oh, chortling away. You know what I mean? And I've heard of galumph.
Galumph.
Or galump, actually, is the word I use. My dog galumps around. He's galumping around. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's the same context as that word, but
I don't know.
I don't know.
Good enough. We'll have that.
We'll take that, right?
Yeah.
So one chapter of the novel featured a wasp in a wig. That wasn't published in the original. It wasn't published until 1990. He took it out before the book was published.
Published even, yes.
Gosh, we're getting to that time of night. Basically, he had an illustrator called a guy called John Tenniel. He couldn't see his way to the picture according to the letter that there is between them. So he decided not to put that chapter in. It was finally published nearly 120 years after the book first appeared. Now, The Wasp in a Wig is supposed to be a play on, or they think it's a play on, a bee in one's bonnet.
Yeah, could be, couldn't it?
This is nonsense literature to me. This is absolute nonsense. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Now, in regards to looking at it, in regards to conceptuality, it actually brings us into a psychological perspective, right? Because it actually resonates pre-Freud, in regards to the psychoanalysis work. So, like when we look at Freud's work, we see the reflection of that within this book.
Yeah.
Now, Freud argued basically the unconscious comprised of the id, the ego, and the superego. There were three parts of the psyche. Most of them are unconscious, although parts of the ego are conscious, right? So when we're born, our minds are all id.
Right.
It's impulsive. It's not driven by cultural influence.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So
I get it.
Yeah. Morals, or it's basically our basic needs and desires and passions, and they have to be fulfilled at any cost. Yeah. Doesn't think of the consequence, and the id can't think at all. Right. It is literally driven by instinct.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think of a newborn baby, it's being purely driven by id. It needs its essential needs met. So it's going to cry when it's hungry. It's going to cry when it wants attention. It's going to cry when it needs protection. It's going to do all those things, right? And it's quite selfish and greedy.
Yeah.
Right? And Freud called this the pleasure principle. The only aim of the id is the need for the pleasure it seeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in modern society, in any society, if the id was in command, you soon would have a dysfunction. Well, you wouldn't have a society.
No, it would get very dysfunctional, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It would get very quickly as well, because you your pleasure would transform itself into, I don't want that person around me anymore, kill them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the external world creates the ego. That's where the ego begins to develop. So the ego checks the wildest impulses of the id.
Yeah.
Okay. So it changes the id to be fulfilled, but in a way that's best suited within the environment we're in. So it's basically the selfish of the impulsive id on one side and the external influence of the ego on the other.
Mm-hmm.
The id is never fully suppressed. I would like to say that, but it's constrained.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the analogy of the relationship between the id and the ego is that of a horse and a rider. So the ego is the man riding the horse is the id. So the man has to keep the horse in check to ensure that it doesn't gallop itself into danger and cause harm to both the ego and the id. So that's the analogy he used. Now, sometimes the ego can't reason with the id.
Okay.
So the id will be a full swing, right? So when you're angry, your emotional impulse of anger, although your ego is trying to reason with that, the id is in full flow. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's about our ego controlling totally the id.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, when the id's in control, it's impulsive, it doesn't care. And then obviously after the emotional reaction has subsided, then the ego comes in and is a bit like, oh, shit. Right?
Oh, that's another 30 quid in the bin.
Oh, no, sorry, apologies. This is where the super ego can, right now, the super ego helps to check the extreme impulses of the, now the super ego develops after the Oedipal conflict. Now, this is when the child realizes, that it cannot get rid of the parental rival. Okay, so it suppresses the desire. So it's like the person feels for the other parent. If the ego is like the older sibling, the big brother, if you like, looks out for the kid brother.
Yeah.
So the super ego is the strict mother or father, which keeps them both in check. So the super ego is not enough for the ego to be practical or realistic. It should be moral. So, right. So you've got like the three-way thing. So you've got the moralistic, the conscience of the super ego. The ego is keeping your id in check. So you've got the id is being controlled from two ways.
Yeah.
So it's our moral conscience. It's that inner police officer, the super ego.
Yeah.
And that is taught. That's behavioural. So that will come down from what your parents have learned behaviour, should I say.
Yeah.
But these are all subconscious things going on within a person. So relate these onto what we've been talking about, everything we've talked about tonight. You can see examples of this psychology playing out in all the different scenarios we've discussed, from the amber room and the things that happened there, the impulsiveness, the there's no conscience there. Do you know what I mean? All of those factors to do with that. You can see that in regard to Narcissus,
yeah.
the mythology. You can see that the id is in full control here. You know what I mean? You can even see that in regard to the Versailles. The Hall of Mirrors in Versailles.
The Hall of Mirrors, yeah.
Right. So when we talk about Alice in the Looking Glass, we're talking about that reflection of those influences within our subconscious coming forward and being reflected out into the outside world.
Yeah.
Now, in regard to the situation that Lewis Carroll used it in, he was he was saying that it's about the girl, Alice Liddell, who he was telling the tale to, about her passage of child into womanhood and these influences of the subconscious coming to play within it.
Right, okay.
So I've got very technical all of a sudden on you guys, haven't I?
Absolutely.
Are you loving it?
Oh, absolutely. Keep going.
Are you following it? Is the question.
Yeah, it's sinking in.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Now there is a bit of a thing here. I might be embarrassed anybody listening on this one. Right. So when a girl passes into childhood, passes from childhood into adolescence, should we say? Yeah, adulthood. There is a physical manifestation.
Yeah.
Which signifies this, which is a menstruation, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got the red and the white queen.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. So we've got that symbology within that as well. So we've also have a growth period in regard to a mental change regarding the psychology of a female through the puberty, which is why girls have such a hard time with it sometimes.
Yeah.
That passageway between being a child and into adulthood is quite traumatic at times for girls. And actually it's become less as time has gone on, because we are now a lot more open about discussing that passageway through to girls. Back in the day, it wasn't discussed. It just was like, oh, right, yeah, it's happened now. The girls like, oh my God, I'm bleeding. You know what I mean? But now we teach it. We explain your physical, physical manifestation of this. Now, menstruation is actually well-known association with sin.
Right.
And it should be something to be ashamed of.
Yeah, you can understand.
I'd say, that's something that would have been like
very,
that
yeah, it's very Victorian, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much these days.
No, nowadays we call it, there are various spiritual workings of womb working. It's called the red tent, the red room. It's something you work with as a woman to embrace your embodiment of your feminine. And that's something which I would say is wholly feminine spirituality. I remember talking to a lady once who was very, very connected with her lady garden, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And people do say
she has a garden where she grows ladies. That's interesting.
her lady garden. And when we talk about the talking flowers, there is that. I'm finding this a little cringy. It's like we talk about men think with their equipment.
Yes.
Brains, yeah.
We also have that with women being controlled by their womb area, and about embracing that, because that is the seat in masculine and feminine of energetic working, which is the embodiment of manifestation.
Right.
Well, I'm glad we got that sorted.
Now, in regards to, God dear, glad I got
everyone's
I'm so cringing right now. I'm so cringing right now.
I bet everyone's just on the edge of their seats on this one.
Now, also, when you talk about bringing magic back into the oh my God, when you talk about bringing magic back into the table, when you talk about sex magic, you're talking about building up that energetic impulse.
Yeah.
That area, masculine or feminine way, right, through stimulation.
Yeah.
And that point of release, oh my God, that point of release is that. Anyway, I think you get the point, right?
Yeah, I think they get the point.
I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
I'm not. I'll explain further.
No, don't.
The show.
It's fine.
Anyway.
I'm happy living in ignorance.
Whereas within Alice and the Looking Glass, we're talking more about her transition from child into adulthood, and all of that kind of thing. Now, Jesus, there is a little bit of a worry with this. Some psychologists and academics have kind of read the book and seen it a little bit creepy, should we say? Because Carol is actually saying that she's not suitable to be a queen, like the Red and the White Queen.
Right.
In the book. So he's sort of saying that she is better as a child.
Right, okay.
But that is just a psychological assessment of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is very psychoanalytical of the novel. It could just be he was off his face on magic mushrooms and just told a tale whilst they were playing chess and built the premise story around the chess, right?
Absolutely. But
we have got this crossover between, it feels very dreamlike, the Alice in Wonderland books. Yeah, they're a fantasy, aren't they? Their imagination it comes from a very childlike place and very dreamlike world as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when we've talked about dreams before, we did a show on dreams with Andy Mercer, and we talked about the levels of the subconscious coming to the fore and dealing with issues and stuff like that, and dream analysis and stuff like that. It's that kind of quality of how your dreams change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The White Queen turning into a ship, into a sheep rather, the shop turning into a ship. You know, the egg on the shelf turning into Humpty Dumpty. You know, dreams are very like that, aren't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're very bizarre.
I don't remember having this sort of conversation with Andy, though, to be fair.
I have a very different take on things sometimes to Andy Mercer.
Now, just tad.
Now, when you think about Lewis Carroll, if you think he was a mathematician by trade, he was a mathematician at the University of Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is so far away from that.
Yeah.
The logic of maths. I don't actually find maths particularly logical, but then maybe that's more suggestive of how my brain works rather than how I'm maybe not a particularly logical person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
I'll go with that.
There is a logic to it because everything leads to something else and it goes in full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a kind of logic to it, even though it seems completely illogical. Right?
Yeah.
Now, this is about association. When you think of association games, if I said house, you say
party.
When you say party, I say alcohol. When I say alcohol, Richard says,
I don't know, sort of drunk.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? It's word association, isn't it?
Yeah, but he don't like you when you're drunk.
No, apparently not.
No.
That's okay. I can cope with that. It's been a long time since I've been absolutely drunk like that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I may have to bring drunk Kerry back to the table.
No.
Yeah, do the show, yeah.
No, because 9 times out of 10 you end up under it. I don't know about on it.
Or walk into vans and
yeah, stuff. Exactly.
All I'm saying is I'm getting too old for that now. Those days are gone, I feel. Now, so we've talked a heck of a lot of concepts that all come out the back of this concept of this mirror, the mirror of our lives, of our reflection on our life and our upbringing and our procession, is that the right word, of journey, of evolvement, and our perception changes so much. So mirrors are illusional, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or are they truth? Discuss.
No, they're just they are.
Well, you
truth,
hear the phrase, don't you? Smoke and mirrors. That always sort of brings the illusion aspect into it.
And that illusion aspect is governed by our perception.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's something you need to keep firmly in mind if you're using mirror work in any form of ritual. Spiritual practice. That's the better word, So what do we reckon, guys?
I'm still sticking with my mirror, my water and obsidian.
Well, I think the next time you look in the mirror, you know, you've got to say to yourself, well, there is a sort of like a history, a lore, a folklore behind mirrors, you know. It's sort of, you know, then, and they weren't always there to shave in or do your hair in. I mean, that's relatively new, because that just shows our vanity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. I think it's a bit of both with mirrors. I think you've got truth. I mean, there's the saying, take a cold, hard look in the mirror. It basically means be honest with yourself after you've
Yeah.
gone through a period
Yeah.
of denial.
Yep.
And again, you've got, like you said, the smoke and mirrors, which is where you're deceptive to yourself.
Yeah.
I think our brain has a lot to do with it. I think if you work in a spiritual way, you have to be very aware of what is possibly in front of you, and take that for what it is. You know what I mean? Just, you know, it's interesting. I find it incredibly interesting, the concepts that the mirror brings up for people, and how people use mirrors, and then what they see within a mirror. And if you hold a mirror up to your life, I think you have to go, are you seeing the truth of what was there, or are you seeing your self-deception when you look into a mirror? I don't know. I think I feel I'm quite truthful with myself in general, but I know that I can self-deceive as well. I want confirmation bias on what I want to see sometimes. I think I look great, but actually I don't. We've all done it. If someone's walked down the street, you think, God, did they look in the mirror this morning?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean? But if you're happy with what you see, then who's anybody to tell you that you don't, right?
Precisely.
On that note, guys, any last thoughts?
No, not really. It's I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, I think you know, you summed it up quite well there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to love you and leave you. That is the end of another show from the Paranormal Concept team. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, don't forget to contact us. You can contact us through the socials, Facebook Paranormal Concept Show, or you can go onto our website, guys. We have a website. You will find blogs that we've written, although we've been very slack on that recently. We've got blogs that we have written. We have got the shows, all the past shows are on there, and you can find links to the books we have written as well as a trio. On that note, say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.